Hello YouTube, you got Video Game House here once again with another cooked video. Wait, that came out wrong. This is our deck profile video on the Burn deck Mega Camerupt. Now, it is a very, very unseen deck, but I find it quite fun because it's able to kind of do what Poison does, but allows you to actually play the game after turn 1. Those of you who've played Pokemon TCG Ladder know what I'm talking about. Simply put, Magmar and Magmortar. Magmortar has a ability called Magma Surge that says during Pokemon Checkup, put 3 more damage counters on your opponent's burned Pokemon. Burn is a healing status. Between turns, you flip a coin. If you land heads, then you can heal off of burn. If you land tails, you stay burned. Between turns, you take 2 damage counters instead of 1 from other things such as poison. Burn is 2 damage counters. Magmortar makes it from 2 to 5 to 8, all the way up to 11. In this deck, since we only run 3 of them, up to 11 per burn damage. They run Numel and Mega Camerupt EX. Mega Camerupt EX, funny enough, is using its 1 energy move, which is 1 energy, 80 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is burned, it does extra 160, hitting all the way up to 240. But because, of course, if your opponent's Pokemon is burned, it's going to do an extra 20 damage, so minimum, you're hitting for 260. Pretty good. But obviously, with Magmortar on the board, you're able to hit 290, 320, and up to 350. We also run Volcanion, which, of course, with its Steam ability, it forcibly burns your opponent's Pokemon as long as it's the one in the active, which the deck runs a lot of switch options, such as Latias, Jet Energy, Switch, things of that nature in order to get Volcanion in the active, burn your opponent, switch it out to Mega Camerupt so you hit that big damage. If you need more damage, your Magmortars kind of go in and do a little bit extra damage. Or you can use burn, and then Magmortar plus the burn is equal to a little bit more damage, so sometimes you don't even have to take an attack, which is really, really good for countering things like Fezandipiti. Your opponent puts a Badoo in the active, you can burn them, and then your Magmortar plus the burn is 50 damage. The Badoo gets knocked out, but because it's done via damage counters, Fezandipiti for your opponent's side will not trigger, so they can't draw 3 extra cards. A lot of these cards in here are self-explanatory. Arven, Lillies, Iono, bosses, a Turo, many a switch, so that way you can get your Volcanion to burn. You switch it out if you don't have Latias. You switch it out so that way you can get Camerupt in. Things like that. Nest Ball, Night Stretchers, Ultra Ball, Counter Catcher, Earthen Vessel. All that stuff is very easy. Our turn 1 combo, since we do run the Precious Trolley, is in order to get our full bench set up. And we run for Arven to try and maneuver getting the Arven Precious Trolley Earth Evolution combo. So we were able to get our, Volcanion into the active, into burn our opponent, into Mega Evolve, put 1 energy, TM evolve 2 Magmars into Magmortars, and we burn for 80, so that's usually knocks out, a basic, Dreepy, or Ralts, or things of that nature. We do also tech in Bravery Charm, since Volcanion at 220, and Latias at 210, and Fezandipiti at 210 are pretty viable to getting knocked out, but that extra 50 does keep them out of damage range a lot of times. Rigid Band, because our Mega Camerupt is 340 HP, but also having the Rigid Band does make it effectively 370, which apparently is a huge deal. And then we run Battle Cage. You can run a bunch of different stadiums with this deck. I just appreciated Battle Cage the most, since it was able to stop things like Dragapult, which was a big pain in the neck when I was streaming this. Definitely an idea if you need a different stadium that you can try and play around with a little bit. 7 fire, 2 jet, and then that's 1. I'm kind of blocking it. My bad. There it is. 1 ignition energy. Ignition, again, is more of a tech card because it is Mega Camerupt's secondary attack, which is 1 fire, 3 energy, 260. So if you can't burn your opponent, you can still go ignition and attack without having to switch out or burn or anything like that. You just hit the big damage. And it discards energies, so you just discard the ignition, which is going to get discarded anyway. So it's just a tech in there. All right, so as you can see behind me, it's bigger me. So that, again, is from a stream that we did. This was a fully live streamed game. I believe these were actually tournament matches that we were in. We stream every tournament that we play in every Saturday and Sunday starting at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the Blue Ditto and the Redacted tournaments. Great tournaments if you guys have time for them. 100% would suggest doing it. Their judges are crazy good. Their community is crazy good. Their prizing is awesome, and I would highly suggest them. So this is like what I said. We try and get that Arven start, try and go second, and we get that Precious Trolley off of the Arven and set up our full bench. Granted, our playstyle is a little different here. We were still kind of learning the list, so we kind of put Badoo down and didn't really necessarily need it. But as you can see, you know, I'm able to burn my opponent. I can set up a Magmortar. I can set up my Mega Camerupt. Depending on the matchup, you would want to go into double Magmortars because you can just find Camerupt on the next turn, say using Ultra Ball and things like that. So you can burn for more damage. But seeing as we already have Volcanion and Energy, everything else we kind of need, it's totally fine. This Badoo probably could have been a secondary Numel. It could have been an empty space. I did not need to put the Badoo on the board. I should not have, in all honesty. I only put it there because I was trying to get rid of more cards out of my deck. But I didn't realize I think in this matchup, I didn't realize that I was able to bring in the Volcanion for the burn and the TM evolution. So I put down the Badoo, and then I realized what I could have done. So the Badoo just kind of stood there, which is awful for me because obviously they run Iron Hands, which no good when you have a 30 HP Pokemon and they can take extra prizing. So we already had Magmortar kind of set here. We got the burn. We don't need to take a knockout. Joltik is now just going to burn to death, and we can just set up the rest of our board. We can get a knockout with burn, so instead we item lock, we still get the knockout, and they can't use things like Fezandipiti to draw more cards, so we're in a pretty good position here. This video is going to come out long before Mega Ascension or Ascended Dreams, whatever it comes out. The next set that gives Pikachu Light Ball, so we were in no worry of getting hit for 350 damage in this matchup to getting Camerupt knocked out. But Pikachu at 300 HP or 300 damage is still scary because we still have Latias, we still have Volcanion, still, you know, big damage knockouts, and even then he can still weaken my Mega Camerupt for 300 and still put up the Iron Hands to get a knockout. We are trying our best here to try and mitigate damage, take some knockouts early, so if we lose something, we can still, you know, fight around it. Obviously, we want to take a knockout here. We burn, we do 240, and then even if I didn't get the knockout there, it still would have gone for an extra 80 damage. You would have had 240 plus 80 on top of that to hit 320, which is a magical number versus things like Dragapult, so always good to know that that is in the deck. So we're at 3, they're at 6 in terms of prizing. Their board state is pretty strong. They still have a Pikachu that's already set up. They have an Iron Hands that's already set up. So we need to try and find an answer. They did put down the Fezandipiti after I took the knockout, so they must have been holding on to it, which does kind of suck. My opponent getting the Crespin down for Pikachu to get that 300 is huge, but we do actually have something of an out since we do have Professor Turos. So we either have the options for burning, we have the options for attacking. I think I just go in with this because it's actually really funny. If we lose 3 prizing, we can just set up another Pokemon regardless and still get attacks off, like Volcanion, who can now hit for 160, but he also has burn. And in doing so, I really didn't need to use the Switch, honestly, but I didn't think of it when it happened. We can get burn. He stays, he does heal. I could have taken a knockout there, let him take 3 prizes, which I probably should have done, but like I said, I was still learning the list. But if he took the knockout, we could have gone after, since we would have had boss's orders, we could have gone after things like the Iron Hands with burning it and then still hitting 160 on Volcanion, which would have taken a knockout there, or on Fez, or even on the other Pikachu, or on the Miraidon in the back. It already has 50 damage on it, so you can definitely take those guys all out. He wanted to get rid of my little guy there. Does kind of suck, but I'm not really too worried because now we can just start setting up another guy, still get everything that we need. And I believe this does hit just for enough damage because, yeah, it's +8, which is 24. So we can get the knockout on the Iron Hands. Beautifully done. Unfortunately, like I did say before, I could have done this a lot differently, and I probably would have won right here if I did it the right way. So that's my bad. Oh, yeah, I forgot I item locked this guy to take 2 prizes rather than, and just let him go for the knockout, because if he takes 2 prizes, I can win the game regardless. That's actually pretty funny. I didn't remember I did that. So, by the way, these videos are all taken from streams, and unfortunately, this one was from a while ago, so I do not remember all of my plays or what I was exactly thinking, but it's definitely fun to run these videos back and, like, go and remember what I did, or, you know, show you where even I make mistakes, or where I learned, you know, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. So my opponent does take the extra prizes. I know he was going to take the extra prizes, but I also do know that we're already at enough damage to get a knockout, so we just burn and just pass the turn. Burn goes off, he gets knocked out, and the game is over. I believe this is actually a ladder match. I did see the rating over there, so I'm pretty sure this is a ladder match. Some of these are ladder, some of these are tournament. I can't remember what's what. And it looks like we're up against Guldango, which is obviously kind of good and kind of bad for us because, yes, we're a fire-type deck, but we're also Mega. So for their 2-prizer Goldango, we have a 3-prizer, which is much easier to get extra prizes off of. So we're just trying to set up what we can to do just about anything. If we opened Arven here, we actually could have gotten the whole setup and, you know, burned this Goldango for 80 damage and taken a knockout on it. So, and unfortunately, he did heal. So this sucks even more, you know? Unfortunately, Goldango is kind of a slugfest, man. It takes forever, man. In a future video, we have a Goldango player that played for 15 minutes compared to our 4 minutes, and we still win. So you saw that we were able to burn the Goldango here, and unfortunately we can't get an energy setup fast enough for a Volcanion to just swing the 1/6 that it has to double damage, take a knockout. And unfortunately for us, it's very easy for them to get the damage. They whiff here, which was awesome for us, and we were able to find Arven, only to find out that Precious Trolley is cooked. So we need to figure out how to get around this as best as we possibly can to even just play the game at this point. So we do set up Burn, we set up Numel, we get the Numel energy set up, we have to discard a few things, we throw away Arven, hoping that we can get somewhere else. Since he is burned and we have the switch, we can still do Roasting Heat Knockout, so we can at least try and get some cards from our prizing, and hopefully our opponent just doesn't have an answer to this, because if they do, we're just cooked. But we had to try. We had to push it because it's all we had. We didn't get Arven on 1, we didn't get Precious Trolley in our deck, so we couldn't even play out the Precious Trolley combo. We still could, if we Precious Trolleyed here, we could have evolved most of our Pokemon and set up everything for the rest of the game. Could not even do that. So we have to, like, work with what we get here. Unfortunately, my opponent did use 3 energies in the last turn, have that superior, get those energies back. I believe they used a Lunatone this turn too, so they got all 4 energies back, so that also sucks, plus the Lavincia. We were keeping count of the energies. I don't remember if he gets this here. Does he? I don't think so. Oh, and this is also one of those times where the Rigid Band does come into play. We have 340 HP, which for Goldango, I believe is 7 energies in order to get 35. But if we have Rigid Band on our Pokemon, it's actually another 8th energy. And we do run Badoo. So, funny enough, we actually, since we do run Badoo, we can actually get that item lock. Our opponent hits us with 8 energies, and we go Badoo, item lock, and then if they take it out, we have 2 Night Stretchers. We need to go Badoo, item lock, and they may run out of ways to get energies back out of their deck. You know, the only out they really have is, like, Lavincia. Not entirely sure why I didn't throw Battle Cage over the Lavincia there. I think I might have just forgotten to do it, because obviously there's no reason to leave him with that, even though, you know, it's a pretty good card. And we did find our Precious Trolley after that, so that's cool. Luckily, right now, the prizing is... Well, fortunately, it's 2 to 6, so we have time. Unfortunately, I wasn't unable to find more fire energies, so that way I can set up the Volcanion to attack. If we were able to set up the Volcanion to attack, it would have been awesome. Unfortunately, we did not. So, we did get Precious Trolley, so now we're just trying to set up everything we possibly can. We have draw power, we have removal of Lavincia. You know, we have to find something. I believe I was checking to see whether or not, like, Boss's Orders would be a good play here, and we were just trying to, like, do something. Granted, he only has the 1 Goldango on the board. If we can burn it, weaken it, we can do things like that to make things a little bit better, whilst also setting up our Volcanion. We got TM Evo, we can Evo, and burn our opponent, of course, so we were checking to see what we should do here, because if I give him 3 prizes, it could be a problem. But I also don't have a way of finding or guaranteeing Camerupt on the next turn. So I kind of had to do something here. This is like, does he have it or does he not have it? Because if he had all the energies and a Boss's Orders, he'd be able to bring up the Mega Camerupt, take it out, take the 3 prizes. And that's where I kind of made my own mistake there. Because if I just didn't do that, I would not have to worry, because he doesn't, like, they don't run Iono or Judge. So, like, we wouldn't have to worry about our hand getting shuffled back in. We just kind of, like, leave everything as is. We just rip every card out of our hand. We go, like, Pokégear to find Arven, to find Ultra Ball, to discard, draw 2, discard 2, get Mega Camerupt. Like, we'll have all of the pieces because we have Switch in hand. But definitely played around this one, again, a little awkwardly, where I did not need to do as much as I did. He does have the good 70 damage to take a knockout here, but Unfortunately for him, it does not matter because we find everything. We get our free retreat, we get our Camerupt set up, bam, we get the switch, bring up Camerupt, and then just punish delete that guy. Literally, that all stumbles upon one snowballing effect of my opponent only being able to do 150 damage on my Volcanion on turn 1. If he did get the knockout on turn 1, when he attacked me, the game would have ended right there, but got lucky on that one. I'm like 80% sure this was my opponent. We just played. Was it? I'm not gonna look. If you guys want to look, swing back for like 20 seconds, find out. Let me know in the comments. I do read all of your comments, by the way, so if you have anything to say about my horrible gameplay or how wonderful the deck might be, feel free to punch it into the comments, and I will respond. I think I did just run to the same guy twice, and they did start Solrock Energy. So this time it's different, though, because we actually got our Precious Trolley TM Evo combo. We are missing our energies, so that does kind of suck, but we got the full setup play. No Badoo. Would have been funny if we had a Badoo, but no Badoo. We do have our free retreat. We can bring up this guy, punch him with the burn damage, and we can just kind of settle on that for now because we obviously don't get an energy. We do have, I think, Earthen Vessel in the list as well, and a bunch of energies. We just were unlucky enough. I think there's like 9 or, no, there's 10 energy. If you include the special triple energy, then there's technically 10 energy in the list. We just got unlucky and didn't open it. Arven to get everything else we needed, but that. Very crazy setup for the Mega Lopunny on turn 1, but we also can hit that pretty easily, like pretty nonchalantly, so long as like we Volcanion burn plus the double Magmortar, like we can still get there. Unfortunately, we have to like find everything first, obviously. So we have the plus 10 damage, which is necessary because double Magmortar plus the burn damage is 80 damage plus the 240 is only 320. We don't do 330. So we kind of like bank and hope for this one, but we don't exactly get there yet. Unless our triple draw was like double Magmortar into and Camerupt, like that's one thing, but not exactly fantastically played. Can't do much, so we're just gonna set up our burn and then just kind of relax for a minute. We do have the Ultra Ball set up for Camerupt, so we can still do big damage. They did throw a Turo already, so we're not super worried, and like they have to switch out and then switch back in, and because we kept them burned, we got lucky with the coin flip. But because we kept them burned, if they stayed in, they would have gotten knocked out from burn, so. And again, that's a 3-prizer right in front of me, so if we can take that out, it does kind of help, the prize numbering. Obviously, they can just pay the 1 energy to retreat and then bring out somebody else, but they also have to find Goldango, they still have to find damage, they still have to find energies. And Arven into a secret box is cool, but they can't play the supporters, so they have an item, a tool, and a stadium to play. They discard all of their energies. They already have 7 energies in the discard pile and a lightning energy on the board, so that's 8. Usually, their deck will be running about 11 energies. The average is 10 or 11 in most cases. So you can usually count out their energies and then use Badoo to item lock them if you run Badoo, especially if you run Badoo and Night Stretchers, or, ways to bring Badoo out, Buddy Buddy Poffins, Super Rods to get it back into the deck, and Buddy Buddy Poffins. You can easily just do stuff like that. We are behind here, so I think my idea was the Counter Catcher. I was 100% right on that. Yeah, just Counter Catcher, bring this guy back to the active and burn his ass, because, why not? We can actually still do the normal roasting heat, which I did forget I did. We can actually just hit him for 90. If we were able to burn him, that would have been better for us, because obviously if we burn him and then it gets knocked out, they can't use things like Fez. But there wasn't much I could have done there because I didn't have another switch because I had to throw it away with Ultra Ball in the turn before, but you push, you shove, but I was kind of hoping for something better there. That's why we also run Jet Energy, though, because we have Latias and Jet Energy, so we can jet the Volcanion to the active and then retreat for free. So we keep the energy on the Volcanion. So we have only it's fire colorless. So you can go fire Jet Energy and still attack for 160 if need be, but you can also burn your opponent and then attack for 160. Double Magmortar plus the 160 is 240, which can take out any basic EX in the game. And some Pokemon, like Goldango here, one of the top meta competitive decks, is weak to fire, so 160 is actually a devastating damage. My opponent, again, does whiffs the damage, which is awesome, and obviously I don't need to do much. We can attack, and we just win there. My opponent, I think, hard conceded on that point, so go me! Oh, look, you can see me wearing my Badoo hat. I moved right in the way. My little Badoo hat. Again, something you guys can see on stream if you guys want to join me. All right, we started a Volcanion, which I think Volcanion or Badoo is probably one of the better starts you can have, because if you go second, your options are try and get Precious Trolley TM Evo Energy to set up your whole board in one move, and if that fails, hit the Badoo, item lock your opponent, and hopefully stall for a couple of turns while you set up. Oh, and this is a little harder. This is where you hope to have the triple Magmar, triple Magmortar, because you can set up the 350 damage for knockouts, but it's significantly harder because you have to have all 6 and hope nothing got prized with your Magmortars or your Magmars to set up all the damage necessary. So we are checking to see if we have everything, and luckily we do. We checked all the Magmars, check all the Magmortars, everything is just sitting there. We have everything we need. And I'm just trying to figure out whether or not I want to add another card. We don't have Fez, we don't have Badoo, they're both prized. Big unfortunate there, but, you know. We have to believe. We didn't want to get rid of the Magmars there, but we needed to set up, like, burn damage and other things like that, and we luckily did get it. My stupid, smooth brain decides that, you know, throwing away Magmortar there was a good idea. I don't know why, because, like, oh yeah, I can set up 2 other Magmortars. But, like, I don't have the necessary points to deal with a double Riolu. We just had enough damage to burn 1, and not the second. It does give us a good value play, though, because obviously we take out 1 and we take out a Mega Lucario. That's 4 prizing, and then we can hit a double prize like that Squawkabilly or the Fezandipiti that's on the bench. So both of those things are very good for us. Also, lovely, the Fezandipiti, can't use its ability because we burned the Riolu. Unlovely, he has Mega Lucario. So, not good. Only positive is I think he just manually played the energy on the Mega Lucario, so he can only max 130 damage, which does set up energy on other Pokemon, but he doesn't have anything else on the bench that can really get set up with energy besides specifically that Solrock until he plays the Riolu. So we're just trying to see what he has. He adds another Riolu to hand, so that way I can't just, like, burn out a Riolu. But now we have to kind of go all in here, because now we're sitting with a weakened Volcanion. He gets a setup board state where he's got basically everything he needs. I think he was trying to set up the Fez. In my opinion, I think he set up the Fez in order to try and shoot the bench Numel, but we were never going to let him get there. We have Burn, so that's a good start, but unfortunately, I have to try and just force things, which is never really the best strategy, is to force plays. But he can't take a knockout on Camerupt, so much so as I can't take a knockout on Lucario with a single hit. I'm just trying to play around whether or not he can take a knockout next turn, so I'm trying to, like, hold the Fez, hold the extra Volcanion. I don't want to lose Lilies, because then I can hand reset. I don't want to lose Boss, because I can set up everything else. It's a lot of, like, oh, what do I get rid of? What do I keep? I had double Jet, so I'm like, all right, we'll throw a Jet. I probably shouldn't, but I will. We got ourselves set up. We have all the pieces. We don't want to get locked out in case he bosses the Volcanion, so we're thinking about putting down the second Volcanion. That way, if he bosses it, knocks it out, I still have the second Volcanion on the board to start. And thankfully, this forces plays, because he's now burned, so at the end of the turn, he would get knocked out. So he's forced to retreat rather than wanting to retreat. You know, he doesn't have to if he healed off the burn. But we got lucky on the burn coin flip. So he would forcibly have to retreat, and then he just doesn't have a way of bringing up something else. So he's trying to set up a Riolu and into a Lucario. So totally fine, totally fair. We have multiple bosses in the deck, so we can always just boss up the first guy, burn him, let him go down, and then bring out a Fezandipiti and take that out, or Squawkabilly take that out as well. He got rid of my supporter, or my tool, which in this matchup doesn't matter that much, but it matters enough that it annoys me. He's looking for all of his Gatorade bottles, which plus 30 damage. So he's got the 270. I think he used 1 right now, so he's at 300. Doesn't get a knockout, which is crazy good for me because I did get a knockout. Bring up the Jet Energy into the burn so I can use my boss's play because I do want to get rid of a Mega Lucario here for the 3 prizing. Or I don't, and I instead want to weaken both of them so that way he has no way out of this, I guess. I have no idea what I was thinking. I also don't even play another energy down, which I could have done on the Volcanion if I wanted to just attack with the Volcanion. I guess I do this so that way the Mega Lucario can't use its second attack because of its attack last turn, so it can only hit for 130, I guess? I'm not quite sure. I feel as though I set up the damage to take out both of these Lucarios by burn? And just chose not to play around boss's orders as an option, I guess? I don't know what I was doing, to be entirely honest with you. But, hey, it still works. They're both almost dead, so just burning them will get a win regardless. So he has to take 6 prizes and, you know. Was I playing around Iono? Maybe I played around Iono. That's why I didn't take a knockout, so I wouldn't go to 2. Because my hand size was awful if I took a knockout. Maybe I played around Iono. It hasn't been what I was doing. So he can take a knockout with the Soul Rock, so it does kind of suck, but it's not awful, per se. The hand state that we have is both good and bad, right? Oh, gosh, the boss's order stop deck is crazy. I must have spoke that into existence into the tournament because that was hysterical. We bring it up, we burn, we just set up and just kind of sit there. Do I go Fez? I do go Fez. Yep, because I wanted more cards. I got greedy. Into the Night Stretcher so I can evolve my Numel so that way I don't have to worry about the... yes, again, I'm setting myself up for failure because obviously if they can take a 3-prize knockout, I would lose the game. But at the same time, I'm not really super worried because they can't take a 3-prize knockout. Ignore the Oricorio. I was using that for a time because its ability allows you to place fire energy down from your hand onto your Pokemon as long as you have a Mega Fire type, I think, on the board. So I was able to set up like Volcanion and Camerupt at the same time, or set up Camerupt's 4 energy attack if I wanted to. It didn't work, so save you the time and effort. You don't have to run it. It doesn't work. It's not helpful. It's not as helpful as you need it to be. He takes up my Magmortar, so I can't use Burn, but he also has a 20 HP Pokemon on the board, and I have options, so... Since he did take a knockout, we have to try and, like, go through our deck a little bit, trying to get bosses number, like, 2 or 3 out of the deck. We luckily just rip it, get the burn, take the knockout, win the game anyway. It was a very hard-fought game, and it does just show off how powerful burn can still be, regardless on whether or not you get all of the burn pieces. Some decks, obviously, like Goldango, you have an advantage in terms of fire energy, or firepower, because you can do fire. Double damage against Goldango makes it really easy to kind of get knockouts. You still have to worry about HP and, you know, energy control and how much value your opponent has versus how much value you have. So, like, it is a little harder to try and, like, set up the stage, but if you get it set up, it's super strong. It's still, it does have donk potential. You know, if your opponent opens a Dreepy and then gets, you know, nothing else and you're going second, you can still burn them and then hit them for 80 with an evolution TM off of Arven. I think the deck could use more Pokégears, I think, because then you can try and hit Arven a little bit more often. I think that it could still run a bunch of different fire Pokemon that, you know, there's the one of Moltres, it's like a 1 energy that does 20 damage and like 90 more or something like that. You can still boost that using like a Defiance Band or something like that in order to one-shot Goldango with a single prizer. I'm sure there's a lot of different stuff you can throw into the deck to make it a little bit stronger. Feel free to play around with it. Deck list will be in the description. Let me know what you guys think of it, and if you liked it, give a like to the video. You know, tell me what you thought of